And welcome to the Russell Howard Hour. Well, looks like Boris Johnson's irresponsibility has finally gone too far.
It has taken Boris Johnson nearly a fortnight to admit that it was wrong of him to tell MPs that Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe had been teaching journalism in Iran when, in fact, she'd been on holiday.
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe is in prison, charged with plotting to overthrow the country's government.
His time in office has been littered with gaffes, but this is a different level of trouble for the Foreign Secretary.
This British mother's fate now lies in Boris Johnson's ability to secure her release.
Poor woman. Imagine being in an Iranian jail and your only hope is Boris Johnson. You can't send him to an Islamic country. He'll probably rock up eating a bacon sandwich. Just, hello, Muslims! Cheer up, it's nearly Christmas! Yay! She was visiting her family. Boris waded in and said she was training journalists, and now she may get an extra 5 years in jail. Amazingly, his colleagues defended him. Liam Fox said, "We all make slips of the tongue." We all make slips of the tongue, you stupid cocking funt. This from James Martin is a slip of the tongue.
Delicious looking dick from... Sorry about that.
Boris could land her with an extra 5 years in jail, and it could get worse. He's being urged to explain his blunder in Farsi. No. We cannot let that happen. He's done enough damage speaking English. If he speaks Farsi, she'll never see sunlight again. He can only speak 3 languages: English, Latin and fuckwit. How is he our Foreign Secretary? We're on the brink of nuclear war and we have a man who is part alpaca, part Lurpak Manders. Hello. Boris is the name. Oh, look, a small child. I mean, what if it kicks off in North Korea? Imagine him meeting Kim Jong-un, just... Michael McIntyre! No! Or Putin, you send Boris Johnson to Russia, he'll be wandering up to Russian women trying to unscrew them. Just, hello, is there a tiny one inside you? That was a babushka joke. Now, a Foreign Secretary needs to be able to communicate across cultures. Boris, he doesn't have that gift. He called Africans pickaninnies, said the people of Papua New Guinea were cannibals, and he accused the Turkish president of being a wanker who has sex with goats. Diplomacy. Now, elsewhere this week, Boris isn't the only one causing ripples offshore. Did you hear about the Paradise Papers?
A huge leak of secret offshore investments has revealed the tax affairs of rich and powerful people around the world.
Some of the biggest names have been caught up in the Paradise Papers. The Formula One star, Lewis Hamilton.
3 actors in the sitcom Mrs Brown's Boys.
And U2's frontman Bono invested in a Lithuanian shopping centre.
Bono's got a shopping centre in Lithuania. We need to make poverty history, but first of all, the people in Lithuania need a Claire's accessories. Teenage girls need knickknacks. And that is the worst impression of Bono that you will ever hear, right? And Mrs Brown's Boys as well. We got the bad end of that deal, didn't we? A faraway island got the money. We were the ones who had to fucking watch it. And Lewis Hamilton can piss off. You can't avoid tax and then drape yourself in the flag. I love this country. I mean, not enough to pay for the NHS or teachers or the police or firemen or doctors or social housing, but England till I die. That's why he'll never be properly loved. We like our sports stars honest. Yes, Paula Radcliffe may have done a shit on the road, but at least she paid for that road. You know... Do you know the worst thing about that joke? Paula Radcliffe is now a tax exile in Monaco. Everything's fucked. It's so depressing. All we keep hearing is, these investments are legal. They're legal. So's Love Island. That doesn't make it right. I mean, Christ, it's legal to go to an old folks' home dressed as death. Just don't do it. There's no rule saying you can't draw a Hitler tash on a baby, but trust me. That will ruin a christening. It wasn't just celebs. One of the other names caught up in this surprised everyone.
£10 million of the Queen's private funds were invested offshore. The Duchy of Lancaster invested £7.5 million in a fund based in the Cayman Islands.
Why is the Queen's money going offshore? She's already got a tax haven. It's called Britain. Her face is on the money. She pays with selfies. It just doesn't make any sense. I doubt she even uses money. If she runs out of change, she probably just does this. Now, the more you look into it, as I'm sure you've done, it gets stranger. Her money was in the Caymans, in an off-licence, and apparently she makes money out of a McDonald's in Oxfordshire. Just do-do-do-do, one's loving it. Please, 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 let Prince Philip be manning the drive-thru. What do you want, you bastard? Huh? Huh? A McMuffin? That's what I give Liz at Balmoral. I shouldn't, no. We shouldn't be joking, because some of these investments are really sinister.
It's also claimed that the Duchy invested in the rent-to-own retail store Bright House, which has been accused of charging some of the UK's poorest people inflated prices.
The Queen's involved in a shop that makes money by ripping off poor people. That's going to change the national anthem, isn't it? God save our gracious Queen, here's a washing machine you can't afford. If you don't pay your debts, your house will be repossessed. Phil's gonna teabag your pet. Fucking pay us now. So depressing, isn't it? Celebs, royalty, but the one that really got me, many of the most powerful supporters of the Brexit campaign appear in the Paradise Papers. Cheeky bastards. Bloody foreigners coming here, they should stay in their own country and look after my money. You can't go on about the NHS needing money when you're sending millions abroad. It makes you so angry, doesn't it? We all did the same thing. We heard about this, went, this is bullshit. Something needs to change. We will never, ever be so... Oh, look, it's the John Lewis ad. If by some miracle you haven't seen it, here it is.
Golden slumbers fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing you a lullaby, and I will sing you a lullaby.
What a pile of absolute shit. They put 7 million quid into that. Why? All they've done is put a bollock on a Furby's nose. I've just ruined Furbies and bollocks. Right? Oh, it's so heartwarming. It's not heartwarming. There's a monster under his bed. How long before we find out that monster was played by Kevin Spacey? How long? I'm just saying. Christ, it's nearly as creepy as this.
Hello.
spilled all over. Now, everyone was talking about the John Lewis ad, or they were in my house. My mum's like, it's amazing, isn't it? So fresh. But people would... My mum's like, oh, it's the story of the week. No, it's not. The story of the week, without doubt, was definitely this. A government official in Kenya says male lions having sex together must have copied it from gay men. Let me repeat that. A man reckons male lions in a safari park have been having sex because they've copied it from gay men. Now, that begs the question, who the fuck is brave enough to go dogging in the Masai Mara? Just, hurry up! Hurry up! Like... Are they honestly suggesting two lions saw that and went, psst? Mufasa, come here. A whim away, a whim away, a whim away, a whim away. It's ridiculous. The only thing a lion would think if he saw that would be, why is my main course shagging my pudding? It gets madder. Not only was this government official blaming gay men, listen to this, he went on to say the lions would need counselling to cure them of their sexuality. I'd love to see that, just a lion on the couch. I think the issues date back to my childhood. You see, my uncle was killed by my father, and I was raised by a meerkat and a warthog. If it hadn't been for Hakuna Matata, I don't know what I'd have done. Cure them of their sexuality. I say we get all the people who think being gay is an illness and send them in to kill the lions. Wouldn't that be great? Just nom, nom, nom. From lions to them internets, did you hear about Facebook's latest proposal?
It may seem absolutely preposterous, but Facebook is really telling people to send them naked pictures they might have of themselves. The social network promises it is part of a way to prevent someone from posting those same pictures online as a form of revenge porn.
Now, Facebook reckon they will look at the photos, recognise the photos, and stop them from ever appearing online. I've got a better idea. If you've got a photo of you naked, fucking delete it. Who is going to look at a photo of their genitals and go, God, it'd be a nightmare if I get out? Send. We can't trust Facebook. They don't even keep your birthday secret. Who in their right mind is going to send nude photos to a website that regularly posts memories? Hey, Russ, remember this? That being said, clearly, something has to be done about revenge porn. Do you know, close to 4% of US internet users have been victims of revenge porn, including 10% of women under 30. Can we please stop behaving like arseholes? If there's any men watching this, if you're lucky enough to have sex with a woman, don't film it. 1, it's creepy. 2, it will never be good when you watch it back. You look like two potatoes fighting. And 3, what if the lions copy it? Not that all the news has been bleak. Andy Murray and his wife, Kim Sears, welcome their second child. Lovely, isn't it? How wonderful. And to celebrate their birth, their local butcher created a delicate, touching tribute. It's a sausage, baby. Look at that. Congratulations. It's a barbecue. Look at it, right? 2 things, right? A, who thinks that's an appropriate gesture for a child? And B, why is it doing the Michael Jackson crotch grab? And do you know the funny thing? That battered lump of sausage would still be a better Foreign Secretary than Boris Johnson. Join me after the break when I'll be talking to best-selling author Naomi Klein about her new book on how to bring down Donald Trump. Welcome back to the show. Let's talk about football. I love it. I love it. It gives us moments of beauty like this.
Origi. Coming in.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow, indeed. And even when it goes wrong, it's wonderful. But I read something the other day that shocked me. Do you know, the BBC did a survey about homophobia in sport, and it said 8% of fans would stop watching their team if they had a gay player. What? Who would care? All that matters is your team winning. And also, it's pretty rich. I don't want no gays here ruining the manly world of football. We've scored! Terry! Kiss me! Come here, Lukaku, come here! Nobody would care. If Coutinho scored the winner in the Champions League final, I would suck him dry. Now, these bigots can piss off. It'll ruin the beautiful game. No, it won't. It's not going to change anything. You're not going to turn on Match of the Day and see Gary Lineker teabagging Alan Shearer. It's not just the bigots. Liberals are just as bad. Why is football still in the Dark Ages? Why won't they come out? And you're like, maybe it's because footballers want to be defined by their skills, not their sexuality. Also, it's the one job in the world where thousands of people sing abuse at you. Imagine that. That's like me doing this show and people doing this.
When that blonde twat's on Sky with his two wonky eyes, we turn over.
You see? It hurts.
He's crap, he's dumb, we prefer his mum. Fuck off and die. Fuck off and die.
All right, lads, you've made your point. Now, didn't realise we were writing our own. Now, don't get me wrong. If a male footballer came out like women have done, it would be amazing. It would be a message to young men that there are no barriers in football. All that matters is your ability. But it would take a brave man to do it. The only top-flight footballer to come out was Justin Fashanu, and he ended up taking his own life. Graham Lasso was accused of being gay just because he had a degree. And it's not just this country. Next year's World Cup is in Russia, a country so homophobic that some people think shaving your beard makes you gay. Milk cartons could make you gay. I mean, Christ, a Russian MP tried to ban Beauty and the Beast because of a gay moment. We don't want gay people in cartoons, but women being kidnapped and making sex with buffalo is nice. There was a story recently about a man who was refused a job in Russia simply because he looked gay. You can't refuse someone a job because they look gay. I look like Ellen. I'm still working. Russia is a scarily homophobic place. Look what happened when two guys did a social experiment where they filmed themselves walking around Moscow holding hands. This is shocking, and it's happening right now.
Жесть. Хотел больше. Что? Слышал это? Чувак сказал. Не хотите на троих сценовить? Да хорош, хорош.
It was just one afternoon in Moscow, and yet that country is hosting the World Cup. But don't worry, the next World Cup's in Qatar. One of the 10 countries in the world that still has the death penalty for being gay. Cheers, FIFA. What I'm saying is, you can understand why players aren't coming out. But what I would say, if anything can break down this homophobic barrier, it's football. Fuck Russia. Fuck Qatar. Fuck the 8%. Football is powerful. It can unite people. It can do amazing things. In World War I, German and British soldiers put down their weapons and had a kick around on Christmas Day. And in January, a boy dying of cancer won Goal of the Month.
Gonna do is a thumbs up again, mate.
Football has the power to change things. If someone came out, it could make a real difference. And how great would it be if that person led England to glory in the World Cup, scored the winner, picked up the trophy, looked at Vladimir Putin and just blew him a kiss? Because nobody in the crowd would care. You just know the crowd would be like, he's coming out, he's coming out, he's coming, footballers coming out.
He's coming out, he's coming out, he's coming, footballers coming out. Free lives on his shirt, equality saluting, we've won the World Cup. Fuck you, Vladimir Putin.
He's one of our own. He's one of our own. He's just a footballer. Who cares who he bones? Now it's time for another Playground Politics. This week, me and them nippers discussed animals.
The thing that really confuses me about a cat, and I don't want to get too base, is when they go to the toilet, they bury it in the garden. Have you seen that?
My brother see that.
Does he? But your brother's buried there.
For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
A narwhal. I would be a cat.
What's a narwhal?
It's a whale with a unicorn tooth. I would be a crocodile because I'm gonna eat her.
That's brilliant. Why would you eat her?
Because she's evil. I'm not.
She's lovely.
I'm a teeny tiny fish. I can't do any harm. I'll be a bird.
Do you know what freaks me out about birds?
Peck your face.
You prefer dogs or cats?
Yes.
Polar bears like spending time on their own like you. Maybe you are a polar bear and you don't realise it. And this is all a dream. If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
I think I might be a dolphin because they're super duper smart and they're also really good swimmers. And I'm a really good swimmer and I'm pretty smart too, but I might want to be a panda because they're super cute and also I'd have better hopes of not being killed because pandas are endangered, or I could be a red panda, which is pretty similar to a normal panda, but it's red and it's smaller. And I've seen red pandas at the zoo and they're amazingly cute.
How about you, Jonah?
Penguin. I want to be a vet.
You want to be a vet? OK, what about a rat? If it was a rat and it had, like, a sore tooth, would you save the rat?
Yeah, I would just squeeze his neck.
Yep.
And then his mouth will open up, and then we'll have a little tweezer and pull it out, and then he will be fine.
Yeah, great. And then you could put that under your pillow, get some money from the tooth fairy.
Well, that would be nice.
I wrestled a bear once.
What? Has it been on WWF? No. And if I could be any animal in the world, it would be a wolf.
Did you ever see Wolfman?
Pardon?
He was a gladiator in sort of the 90s. He was like a really old guy then, and there's rumour that he's still alive, which I find remarkable. Do you know that? Elephants can't forget.
I don't know that.
OK.
No, I don't remember.
Do you know what I ate recently? Frog's legs.
Did you see some slime coming out of it? Blah. Don't talk about that.
There was lots of slime.
Tell her one more time, I will throw up.
OK. And maybe children should be fed rats.
Oh, no!
I'm just saying. We need to... I believe the children are the future. Feed them rats and they'll achieve more. We've all heard that song.
No. No! There's no such thing. You just made that up on the spot.
My guest tonight is an author, an activist, a filmmaker, and an inspiration. Her first book, No Logo, was a worldwide bestseller, shifting more than 1 million copies in 28 languages. And with her latest book, No Is Not Enough, she has President Donald Trump firmly in her sights. Please welcome Naomi Klein. But that was... Sorry, I'm very awkward. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Doing that Trump thing of not knowing what to do.
What's the Trump thing of not knowing what...
Well, I think the latest handshake incident on the world tour.
Right.
He just couldn't figure out how to shake leaders' hands.
So you're accusing me of being like Trump?
No, I'm like that.
Oh.
I'm like that. No.
You're like Trump?
No, I'm not like Trump. Neither of us are like Trump at all. Yeah.
That's definitely newsworthy, isn't it? Naomi Klein says she's like Trump. But it's very interesting. That leads us straight into the several... I mean, I've read your books, amazing. It's really exciting meeting you. And the thing that will probably interest the audience is apparently we all have an inner Trump.
Yeah. Don't take offense at that, but, you know, close your eyes, look inside, and see if there's just something just a little bit Trumpish.
Trumpish.
Yeah. And I say this because I think one of the dangers of Trump is that he's just so outrageous, so awful, that it's tempting to treat him as this aberration, this almost like a Martian from outer space. Right. And the truth is, he is just the worst of us, like the worst of the culture.
Right.
Not just American culture.
Yeah.
You know, I'm Canadian, and one of the things that worries me is that there can be this kind of smugness effect because of Trump. Like, everyone's better than Donald Trump. So we can all sort of feel really good about ourselves for not, you know, being as bad as the Americans right now.
Right. Yeah.
But like, I heard you talk about Boris. Like, you have your own problems.
Oh, yes.
You know? So the inner Trump is just a recognition that he is a product of the culture that we're all in.
Okay.
A really exaggerated form.
Yeah.
I sometimes use the metaphor that he's kind of like the fatberg under London's sewer system, where it's just sort of like all that is bad and gross has sort of found itself in this figure, and it's wearing a suit and sort of stumbling around the world stage, right?
Yeah.
Like racism, misogyny, the worship of wealth, just you know, treating everything and everyone like a commodity. It's just all of that.
I was thinking about this, the whole kind of inner Trump thing. I was thinking if there was some way of putting like another person into his brain, that might help us. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Mary Berry. So, do you know her from the Great British Bake Off?
Yes.
Well, if we were to put an inner Mary Berry into Trump, that might be
or
our only
into the
hope.
rest of us.
Well, yeah, but just the idea that Trump's like, I want to make cakes and that's it. It might... I think that's our only hope. Now, you made a fascinating connection between Trump and wrestling.
Oh.
Oh.
Right, so, I mean, we know that Trump is this master of fake reality, right? He
Yeah.
comes from the world of reality television where...
He's the thinking man's Joey Essex.
But it isn't only reality television that he's an expert in. He's also an expert in the fake reality that is pro wrestling, WWE and WWF in the States. And he is, in fact, a pro wrestler. He is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He has appeared enough times, 8 times in all, in the ring. He plays himself as the billionaire. I mean, it's not that different from what he did on the election campaign trail. So, you know, he'll drop bags of money over the audience, and he comes in and he has like a battle of the billionaires with Vince McMahon, and the loser shaves the other guy's head. It's always the other guy. Trump's not going to let anyone shave his head, as you can imagine.
Maybe we get Richard Branson to go in there and kick fuck her. I'd watch it. It would seem like interesting.
Right. It's a huge part of the way he learned how to manipulate crowds. Like, if you look at how he ran his rallies, right? It's all pro wrestling. It's a give the mean nicknames, you know. Marco Rubio is Little Marco, and Ted Cruz is Lion Ted, and Hillary is Crooked Hillary. I mean, this is pure pro wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
And then the way he would bring the crowds at these rallies, which were sort of like a cross between like a Nuremberg rally and a WWE match, right? Where there's an enemy. The enemy was the press, so he would get the whole crowd to turn on the press or to turn on a Black Lives Matter protester who was in that crowd. And there is this feeling of like, is this really happening? Like, is it real? Is it not real? Is it safe to go as far down this road as we're going? And it's part of the recipe, I think, that got him elected.
How do we defeat him?
So I think the way you defeat Trump is you recognize that he is a symptom. He is a symptom of a crisis. He's not the crisis.
Yes.
It's kind of like what happened with Brexit here, right?
Yeah.
Where the campaign was take back control, and it tapped into legitimate fears and a reality that people have lost control over their democracies. And it channeled that rage in the wrong place.
So
it channeled it at immigrants. It
Yeah.
channeled it at the most vulnerable. But the way you defeat it is you don't say everything's okay. You actually name the real crisis, which is a crisis of our elites and a concentration of wealth at the very top. And you propose real solutions that are going to create those jobs and meet people's most pressing needs.
Yeah.
That's the way you defeat Trump, with a yes, not just a no.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that comes from your book, is that it's the idea that we have to create, like, alternate hope rather than just kind of moaning about Trump.
Yeah, and have confidence in it.
I was fascinated by, there's another phrase in your book, culture jamming, which I thought was very interesting. It's like, if I've got this right, it's the idea that Trump promotes himself as rich and wealthy and powerful, and if we attack the things that he promotes, that will bring him down. And as someone that's thrown comedic rocks at Trump, it feels like we're all kind of, you know, sort of culture jamming the best we can. It doesn't feel like it's working. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think there is this double-edged challenge around comedy, right? Where part of what Trump benefits from is it is being so over the top that you can't quite believe he's real.
Yes.
And so the more we turn him into a joke, the more sort of unreal it becomes.
Yes.
And so I think it's a really tough time to figure out how to do political comedy in a way that doesn't actually provide just that release, because I'm not sure I want people to have too many releases. Like, we actually need to organize, and if we are, whether, it's just an online action that doesn't amount to much, or whether it's just laughing, if we release all of the energy that is out there, we're not going to have much left over to build the kind of movement that could actually defeat him in time for the next election.
Here's another question I've... Like, as someone that pays such close attention to all the horrors and all the intricate horrors of the world, what makes you happy? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel bad for you. You just constantly going, oh, God, oh, Jesus. what makes you tick? I like the fact you're having to think about this.
No.
Just ice cream.
I mean, I have a 5-year-old who brings me a huge amount of joy, and forces a certain amount of just silliness in daily life, because he's a pretty silly guy.
Well, that's good to know. That makes me happy.
And I'm Canadian, so I like nature. That brings me a lot of joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing that freaks me out about, I did some gigs in Toronto, and I didn't know this, but you know when you go out to have like a weekend away in a cottage?
In a cottage.
You call it cottaging. Are you familiar with this?
I am.
So I found out about
British
this in a
friends.
gig. Yeah, exactly. And cottaging in the UK means to have sex in a public toilet. So
there are all these wholesome Canadians talking about...
Well, this is it. Like, I didn't know, and this guy said, hey, you should come cottaging with us. I was like, mate, Jesus. Like, I'm enjoying myself, but... and he genuinely went, it's right, there's going to be water sports. You're like, Jesus But, yeah, well, that's good to know.
And Justin Trudeau might jump out of a cave
Yes.
without his shirt on. That happens all the time.
What's your take on Justin Trudeau?
Did you guys see what he dressed up as for Halloween?
To be honest, I think all we really know about him is that he's quite a dish, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of, but again, that's kind of the main thing that comes over. We just imagine him kind of just flexing in front of you, and you go, yeah, OK, yeah.
Yeah, so he dressed up as Superman for Halloween.
How did he?
Yeah, which, it's not that humble. But, I mean, this is... Justin Trudeau's fine, you know, but he's not Superman.
Yes.
And this is one of our problems in the age of Trump, is that when you've got this cartoon supervillain in the White House, like, it doesn't take much to be Superman. Like, you can just send out a tweet, saying, like, I care about climate change, and everyone's like, you're amazing. Why can't you be our president? So there's a lot. He's getting a lot of encouragement for very sort of symbolic acts.
Right.
And it's nice. It's nice to have a prime minister who's projecting a very progressive vision. You know, he says refugees welcome. He says, you know, he cares deeply about climate change. Unfortunately, he's overseeing a major expansion of the Alberta tar sands, which is the dirtiest oil on the planet. And, you know, refugees aren't welcome in Canada to come from the US because we haven't changed a really important law that we have to change. But it's more to work with than our friends in the States have, right? It's easier to hold a politician to a progressive vision of the future that they are you know, projecting than it is to deal with somebody who's just like, I don't care about anything, you know? So we should just be pushing him to do better, and I'd rather be dealing with Justin Trudeau than Donald Trump,
Right, one final question. What can we do? What's our vision for hope, Naomi? How do we fix the world? That's the final question. But like, if there's one thing that you could tell us from your book, what would it be?
Well, we all have to do more. I mean, we can't let Trump lower the bar and just feel better about ourselves because we're not that bad, right? In the face of some pretty scary things happening, we need to raise it. We need to do more. And to me, one of the most hopeful things that has happened recently is the way young people turned around the election in the UK, because it showed this power that millennials have.
Yeah, it was really fascinating, wasn't it? It was really, as a weary old man, I was really pleased looking at it. But kind of the very fact that...
And I'm not just sucking up to your younger viewers, although just a little bit.
Yeah, but it was just the idea of, like, the very fact that young people are, not just young people, but British people were engaged in politics more than we ever have been, I think is fascinating.
Yeah, and so next time, start earlier, do more, and threaten your parents and grandparents so that you'll
you heard it here.
Naked pictures of yourself to Facebook if they don't, you know.
So that is it. We have to send photos, I believe, of our grandparents naked, is that what you said? That's how we fix the world. I really enjoyed that. A genuine pleasure. Thank you very much, Naomi.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Naomi Klein! That was so great, so great. Join me after the break to see what good deeds you've been up to. Welcome back to the show. Now, as always, let's have a look at your good deeds that you've seen or been involved with this week. Chris Regan got in touch to say, just helped an old lady across Mile End Road by co-op, and she got to the other side. She turned to me and said,
I wanted to go the other way.
Sarah Jane retweeted me this. So the gent from Table 40 who just anonymously paid for a lone elderly veteran's food on Table 6, thank you. You warmed our day with your kindness as well as his. It's pretty sweet. Now, this one, I really love this one, right? Anna Lee said, I left notes in my kids' lunchbox saying I love them. They both got sent home early because they thought I was dying. I love you. Oh, God, she's showing emotions. I'm gonna go. And finally this week, oh, man, I read an article about guide runners. They're volunteers who give up their time to run with visually impaired people. I found this story so amazing, I just had to share it with you.
I'm Agatha, I'm 21. I was diagnosed with a sight condition when I was 3, but then went gradually downhill, and then when I was 14, I lost most of it.
My name's Abigail Cast. I've been guide running with visually impaired people for about 18 months.
Running in general's been a really positive impact in my life. It makes me feel really empowered and confident and strong, and like when you've had a really good run, there's just, nothing better.
So this is our tether with our 2 hand holds. Loops. And then when we're running, I'll be describing kind of surface changes to Agatha and if we need to step up or down anything.
So we'll be changing surface and slightly down in 3, 2 and 1. That's it. Slight cobbles here and then down. Agatha really loves being outside and in nature, so I try and describe the different colours of the leaves of the trees and any plants or kind of wildlife we're going past.
Going under a tree now, a beech tree, with brown, gold and green leaves.
Guide runners are just amazing. It's such a often step out of their comfort zone to be like, I'm going to take on this extra responsibility to run with someone that's vulnerable. I'm so grateful for each and every one of them that I run with.
So welcome to Colin Parr Run. It's event 333 today.
It's Saturday morning and we've come to do park runs. It's 5K, we're hoping to do it in around 30 minutes. Quite muddy, so we'll see how it goes.
I really love running at events. It's that community, and I love meeting other visually impaired runners. It's like, oh, you're blind and you run. It's really great.
Without a guide runner, I would have been sat at home listening to a radio, being bored and feeling sorry for myself, wishing I was out there doing something with all my mates. So having a guide runner is the best thing in the world for me.
People often think that being visually impaired will detract from your life in some sort of way, or they say, oh, it's amazing you're living your life despite of it, but actually I view it as a really positive thing that pushes me to ask people for help, and it adds so much to my life.
And we're done! Yeah! Well done!
I'm going into 30 minutes.
Yes, 29. We ran in 29:11, which so we're really happy.
PB for me, so I'm really over the moon. Didn't expect it.
Brilliant.
Yeah!
Oh yeah. Oh wait. that's quite hard as a visually impaired person, quite possibly. Should we just do a hug instead? That's
Thanks, Russell, for highlighting guide running as a really great thing that people do.
And come for a run with us, mate, anytime.
There you are. Brilliant, isn't it? You fancy it, get involved. Now, as ever, tweet me any of your good deeds on the hashtag RHDeeds, and I'll put the best ones on the show. Now, it's time for my stand-up guest of the week. Please welcome the brilliant Mo Gilligan!
Yes. How's it going, man? Yeah, it's lovely to be here, man, because, I told my mum, I said, I'm on Russell Howard's hour. My mum being my mum, she's wishing me good luck, You know how mums are. She's like, good luck, son. Break your legs. No, mum, the phrase is break a leg. No, break your legs. No, mum, you're not getting it. It's just, no. I said, mum! Why are you talking like that for? You're not even African. What are you doing, man? Proper dickhead stuff, man. Proper dickhead stuff, man. My dad's a lot different, though. My dad's much more different. My dad's a very serious guy. My dad's a Rastafarian, and he's like a proper Rastafarian. He's very tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4". We don't know his height when he wears that hat. That makes a huge difference, And he's from the international home of all Rastafarians in the world. That's right. Brixton. That's where they all live. And the thing is, having a dad that's a Rastafarian, when Rastafarians see each other, they have this greeting. Rastafarian, they will see each other, they have this greeting, they'll be like, "Welcome, Dread, Irie." You ever heard this guy? You ever heard this, my friend? Sometimes they mix it up. They're like, "Welcome, Dread, Selassie, Irie." Sometimes they might just throw something else in. "Welcome, Dread, Redemption, Irie." I was only 4 years old at the time when I heard this. Like, Dad, who's this Irene woman? Who's this? Is this Jar's wife? Who's that? I don't understand who that is, But even having a dad that is a Rastafarian, I'll never forget once my dad had a Rasta off. He's seen another dominant Rastafarian. You've all seen that dominant Rastafarian in the high street. He's got that long Rasta man walk, he just walks like that, He walks slow, And he turned around at my dad and he looked at my dad up and down and just said one word. He looked at my dad and he said, "The lion." And I was 4 years old at the time. I got so defensive. I was like, "The tiger." How about that, Mr. Beanie Man? How about that? But the beautiful thing about having a dad that is a Rastafarian is sometimes the kids didn't really understand it. How kids are very, inquisitive. I never forget once my dad picked me up from school. One of the kids seen my dad, because, my dad's got long dreadlocks, he wears very military uniform sometimes, just camouflage with the boots and everything. I'm like, "Dad, why you got to dress like Predator? Why you got to do that?" One kid seen my dad, he's like, "Oh my God, Mo, your dad's a Rastafarian." I was like, that's right, Rupert, that's right. May I ask? I'm like, "Yeah, go for it, man. Does your dad sell weed?" "Of course." "Who do you think pays for the packed lunches?" But the beautiful thing is that when your dad's a Rastafarian, you get taught the kind of Rastafarian way a little bit. You know, for example, my dad always said to me, you know, don't worry about things like school. You know, like, it's all, when it comes to things like education, a lot of education is based on memory, especially when you're quite young in school. And even when you've got kids, you know, you might learn, you know, teach them things like the wheels in the bus go round and round, simple nursery rhymes. But when your dad's a Rastafarian, your nursery rhymes sound a little bit like this. Me gonna tell you some real Rastaman nursery rhymes right about now. Listen. Jack and Jill go up at the inn, yeah, to fetch a bucket of some water. Him feed his daughter, hey, because she's thirsty. Now me say free blind mice. Them a look for the cheese, but they can't find the slice. No cheese, feed them, hey, because they're lactose intolerant. Now me say, oh, McDonald, him have a farm. It is a ganja farm. Light it up. My name is Mo Gilligan. Take care and enjoy the rest of the evening, man. Thanks for listening, man. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Mo Gilligan! Thank you for watching. Good night, my friends. Good night!